Judaism is very engaged with ritual acts. And with each of those ritual acts tied to either daily life or sometimes a special holiday, there are specific kinds of objects that helped us enact those rituals.
The idea that the objects that you use for these rituals are elevated in some way and are just beautiful and unique objects. It helps you to recognize that these holidays are special and meaningful, that there's a separation from your kind of everyday quotidian life. Passover is a really interesting holiday for objects of Judaica because so much of it is an exercise in empathy and just placing yourself in that time and place and thinking about what it might have been like to have been enslaved, to now be free, to meditate on your freedom and understand that privilege. So all of that, I think, is wrapped up in these objects.
The Passover Seder is really our main home holiday ritual. It's kind of a family drama in which everybody is gathered around this table, which is as much a kind of stage as it is a place for dining and eating. Our script is the Haggadah, this collection of folk song, Torah passages, bits of commentary from different eras and different rabbis. And the way that we can move the story forward really relies on the main props on the Seder table. And that's essentially the Seder plate, which has ritual foods, which when you point to them at certain moments in the story, really help propel the story forward by their symbolism.
Another ritual object is Elijah's cup, a glass of wine for the prophet Elijah, harbinger of the Messiah, whom we invite to join toward the end of the night. But by the 1990s, Jewish feminists started introducing new symbolic foods and objects to the Passover table to tell a more inclusive story. These include an orange to acknowledge LGBTQ experiences within the Jewish community, and the Miriam Cup, a container for water that sits alongside Elijah's glass of wine.
Miriam is one of our most important cultural heroines. She appears in more books of the Tanakh, the Torah, prophets, and writings than any other female character. In spite of Pharaoh's decree to kill newborn Jewish babies, she rescues her baby brother Moses by putting him in a little vessel of pitch and straw and sending him down the Nile. She then follows through with Pharaoh's daughter to make sure he's arrived safely, and she orchestrates to bring Moses back to her family by positioning her mother as a nursemaid. Her later life, she's called a prophetess because of her seeing and imagining beyond the circumstances that she was in to sort of project a future for the Jewish people. She sings the song at the sea with tambourines to celebrate this jubilant moment when they've just crossed the sea, escaping from slavery into freedom.
And then later, when the Israelites are wandering in the desert for 40 years, she has this miraculous well of water that she's able to bring with them as they travel. And it was not only able to quench their thirst, but also had healing powers. So the idea was to bring a cup of water to the Seder table to honor her leadership and her contributions to the story of Exodus, but also to recognize the role that Jewish women play in our community and society as a whole. The Miriam Cup originated in connection with what's known as the feminist Seder, a 1970s-era reimagining of the Passover ritual meal and text to include and celebrate Jewish women. Miriam Cups appeared on Seder tables by 1990 in a tradition started by a Jewish women's group in Boston. Its originators wrote a new prayer to accompany the new ritual objects, celebrating sustenance and healing. Within the Jewish Museum collection, we have a few different variations of Miriam Cups. Some are goblets, others are more like basins or bowls. And like the object itself, the rituals around Miriam Cups remain very open to interpretation. At some Seders, it might be filled with water and a prayer is said over it and everyone takes a drink. At other Seders, the Miriam Cup is passed around as the women present each pour a little bit of their own water into the glass. Part of what's so important about Miriam Cups is that they signal that we belong, that women belong at the table, that we have a place in the story of Exodus, we have a place in Jewish communities, and that demands to be recognized. Amy's cup is the first Miriam cup that we acquired for the Jewish Museum's collection. And what I love so much about this cup is how much it evokes the spirit of Miriam and who she was as a person.
Miriam's song at the sea is really exuberant, and I really wanted my Miriam's cup to have that same kind of interaction with people's emotional state at the Seder. The cup is actually sort of a tambourine, and it's hemispherical. And so like Miriam's well, this is bottomless. What that means is that it's kind of always moving. It's a little bit restless. So the sort of freewheeling interaction, especially kids can have with the Miriam's cup as a vessel, as an instrument, as a sort of ball that rolls around, really brings a sense of joy to the Seder table.
I think these Miriam cups are important because they show that Judaism is ever evolving. Everyone has their own rituals and brings their own perspectives and stories to these centuries-old traditions.
If we can make Jewish ritual objects as rich as possible, if we can make them as relevant as possible to a contemporary audience, if we can really explore some of the more obscure symbols connected with them, maybe that can reawaken us to these rituals and help us to enact a kind of Jewish mindfulness.